I'd like to call to order the Personnel and Administrative Committee hearing this morning. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Roddy. Alderman Bosley.
Present. Here.
Alderman Kennedy.
Here.
Alderman Conway. Alderman Ortmann.
Present.
Alderwoman Behringer.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderman Villa.
Here.
Alderman Arnowitz.
Here.
President Reed. Chairwoman Davis.
Present.
We have 8 present and we have a quorum.
Thank you. First, what I'd like to do is to share with you that as Alderman of the 19th Ward, I was asked by the President of the Board of Aldermen, who is the Chair of Personnel and Administrative Committee, to chair this meeting today. This is a continuation of a hearing that was started last week. We are here because of resolution number 197. It was presented by Alderman Vaccaro at the previous meeting. Today, I will read the resolution. After that, I will continue with the purpose and overview of this meeting, and then I will give instructions and protocol for this meeting. Most of us know that when we are in these hearings, it is about business. So the first things I want to do before I even start with instructions and protocol is to let you know that there will be no comments other than the committee members today. Also, this meeting will have the length of time of exactly 2 hours unless these committee members vote and agree to go further than that. Also, I will not tolerate yelling, screaming, and obscene language. On the first outburst, you'll be warned. On the second, you will be removed from the chambers. There will be no exceptions to that for anyone in this room today. I also need to share with you before I go any further that my anticipation is not to call for a vote. But if this committee insists and this committee requires a vote on what should happen next, you should know from the point of this starting point, I will be voting no. Also, I am not going to give a lot of unnecessary comments for anything other than the resolution itself and what it pertains to. We will not be talking about anything that is external, anything that happened last year or yesterday, because it has nothing to do with Resolution 197. So anybody that feels as though that's something that they have to do, understand it will not be tolerated. So the committee members have heard this. The public has heard it. I expect it to be handled appropriately. We want to handle our business and be civil. So I shall read resolution number 197 to you, and then we'll move from there. Resolution number 197. Whereas an alderperson has reported to local and federal authorities and repeatedly made public statements that on their face allege criminal wrongdoing by that alderperson's colleagues and others. Whereas the allegations did not apparently withstand the scrutiny of local and federal law enforcement officials, but those allegations have gained the attention of this body. And whereas the Personnel and Administration Committee, as a standing committee of the Board of Aldermen, has the power to hold hearings, subpoena witnesses, and order the production of books and papers relating to any subject within its jurisdiction, pursuant to Article 4, Section 8, and Article 15, Section 10 of the City Charter. And whereas this body must investigate and take seriously any allegations of criminal misconduct by board members, and also must investigate the making of those allegations to determine whether the statements have a basis in fact or whether they are defamatory in allegation. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that the Personnel and Administration Committee is hereby urged to investigate and to hold a public hearing regarding allegations of criminal conduct and to issue a report. This was introduced on the 5th day of February, 2016. This resolution was supported by the following alderpersons. The sponsor, Alderman Joseph Vaccaro, the Honorable Louis Reed, President, Honorable Sam Moore, Honorable Jack Coatar, Honorable Stephen Conway, Honorable Kenneth Ortmann, Honorable Joseph Vollmer, Honorable Larry Arnowitz, Honorable Beth Murphy, Honorable Carol Howard, Honorable Joseph Roddy, Honorable Terry Kennedy, myself, Honorable Marlene Davis, and Honorable Lyda Krewson. So you have heard this resolution for the second time. It is very clear that it is about some suggested misconduct that has been referred to as illegal by a specific member of the board, and then some statements that were made that said the entire board of aldermen were in a part of illegal doings. So all of us have been a part of a lot of social media, except me, I don't do it. So you won't find me on Facebook, Twitter, any of that. I have better things to do. Also, we have, in the first committee hearing, you heard a lot of conversation. So now we're at the point where we need to make a decision where we're going, or if we're going anywhere with this next. The witnesses that were invited here, who are the primary subjects of this resolution, were invited to come here and speak. We wanted to hear directly from them. I think it's better that you hear from a person individually to make sure that it wasn't printed a certain way, slanted a certain way, and are inflamed by their presence somewhere else. Here's what I know. Alderwoman Megan Green was asked to be present here this morning. She has chose not to be present. Alderman Sam Moore was asked to be present here today, and he is on his way. I expect him in the room in the next couple of minutes. I will ask a supporting staff member that is in the room to please go and check for his presence. Thank you very much. So one of the things that we will make sure that we do is we will be respectful of our time. Committee members know that on your first go-round, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. On your second go-round, you'll have 2 minutes to speak, if necessary. We also want to make sure that any materials that you have seen before this point, I will not accept them in any kind of statement unless it has been before the entire committee. I will cut you off if you get off of topic. We are dealing only with Resolution 197. So understand that now so you won't be surprised in the middle of a statement that does not pertain to Resolution 197. Also, you have been put before you a few relevant things to Resolution 197. Part of this is statements that were made by Alderwoman Green, and these are copies of Twitters and statements that were made on CBS and other places that were public knowledge to most. I also wanted to say to you that you have before you statements of law enforcement, so that we will go through these things later on after we've heard from our witness. We've also looked at a number of other kinds of remedies to this or consequences that could arise from this. So what I wanted to share with you is that I will be reading some of those things to you later on as we move forward, and they do pertain to Missouri political ethics and some other things that were suggested by law enforcement. We also know that we had a letter that was sent to us from our police commissioner, our police commissioner, and I will read that as well so it can go into the record. I am really wanting to have Mr. Sam Moore speak before we go any further.
You're not giving them out to.
So did we find Sam?
Yeah. This is a dating site.
I know Lisa went to look.
Can you tell me, is this recent? On Megan's letterhead. Do you have any idea?
I don't.
Okay.
But she did, it's on her letterhead, so it's fine.
This is a dated, so I don't know when she did this, Megan.
Okay, thank you very much. In the meantime, while we're waiting for Alderman Moore, and we can start reviewing some of the materials, I really want to respect your time. So I guess for me, I am not interested in reading all of this Twitter and everything else. So anybody, the media, or anybody that wants a copy of it, we'll make sure you get a copy of it. Most of you are already aware of what it says. So that is what it is, and one of the things that I think there was some concern in the last meeting is, if all of this, whether or not it's just hearsay, we would all like to see some facts. We would all like to see some people who have direct knowledge. We would like to have the opportunity to clear this up on behalf of the Board of Aldermen and the City of St. Louis. All of us believe that if this is true, we need to seek remedy to it and clear it up by those who have the power to do it. So, Mr. Moore, would you please go to the podium? I'd like to ask you to speak, please. And I'm sorry, Alderman Moore.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Alderman Moore, you were asked to come and speak today. As you know, this is a continuation of the Personnel Committee meeting that was held last week. It pertains to resolution number 197. And I'm sure you're aware of the resolution, and you also are aware of the circumstances, most especially because you're a primary part of it.
Right.
So we thought it would be good to have both of you present so that you could speak to the Personnel Committee as well as the public. Go right ahead, sir.
First of all, I have another meeting going with my housing board, so I don't have as much time as you would allow me. But anyway, I am an elder in the church, and as well as an alderman in the city of St. Louis. And I feel like my reputation is being tarnished by taking this ordeal too far. I think that my colleague, Ms. Green, is taking this too far because she knows nothing about what she's saying because it's not about me. My job is to take care of the people in the Fourth Ward. And I only care about the people in the Fourth Ward. I love the city, but I am duly elected by the people in the Fourth. They chose me to come down here and find out why we have 1,242 empty buildings, why we have 1,700 vacant lots, why we have 50 years of disparity, looks like third world living, unacceptable living in that community. I take pride in doing what I'm doing for my community. So there was a,
Excuse me.
there was a board bill that went before Tourism, Convention and Tourism. I was on that board bill. I was a co-sponsor on that board bill. And what I decided was that I would be, as long as it meant getting the will of the people the right to vote, and that was taken from the people. So I didn't follow through on that, my assignment on that board bill. So I think a lot of that anger came because I am still adamant about downtown St. Louis not getting everything, and the forgotten people in the Fourth Ward not receiving what they deserve. I've been on every We Shall Overcome, every ad hoc committee, every Kumbaya, every Savior's Day, and anything you can think of that pertains to this polarized city that we don't get a fair share in. You take the same taxes from my money and give me absolutely nothing. Like I said, the 1,242 empty buildings, 1,700 vacant lots, and I have been in, like I said, every negotiation there is. I'm a 68-year-old man. But when they decided in the finance committee to get us 38, I think, % of the workforce, meaning jobs for individuals and businesses, I bit the apple, because that is what I'm doing, looking out for my people, especially blacks. My ward is 99.99% black. I'm not a bigot. My best friend is white. That's what, you know, the statement we make all the time. But I do have a white best friend. It's Tim. But the problem is that when we decided to, I'm still adamant about Ballpark Village not getting all the money, about the Gateway Arch not receiving all the money downtown, about a stadium being built for some losers who didn't want to be in this town anyway. And I'm still adamant today about downtown. I'm adamant about my people getting some work. And so when they put this workforce agreement in this agreement, that was enough for me to move. I never voted prior to that, but my mind was changed because that set a precedent for us to receive jobs throughout for duration. 38 point, I mean, that's a big deal when you normally hire blacks, 2-3 of us work by the fence so you can see us, and then they move you to the county where they can see you, and they gerrymander you, move you all around, and the quotas are never filled. There's no enforcement. So we had the opportunity to do enforcement as well and receive those jobs from my people in that community. Again, I am still adamant about a stadium ever being built. There's no one, and here's another thing I want to say. I'm in sort of a hurry, but there were millions of dollars being shifted around, millions. Check my account. If there's not $1 million in there, leave me alone, because don't cheapen me and make me think that I'm going to take a bribe for some coats. I've been doing Breakfast with Santa for 9 years in my community, taking care of the children, the forgotten children in my ward, getting them coats from Vervis Jones gave me a whole bunch of used coats. I got one coat from the electricians. So whoever, and I begged every time of the season, I've been doing this for 9 years, taking care of those 200-300 children, looking at their faces, feeding them breakfast, entertaining them with a Santa Claus suit on, getting them toys that we get from Toys to Tots, and coats wherever we can receive the coats from. 200 to 300 children that's in need. So don't cheapen me and think that I took a bribe for some coats at all. If there's not $1 million in my accounts, and if you perceive getting jobs for my people, and I have to keep saying my people, and I love all people, but my people are suffering. That's who I'm concerned about. And if you perceive getting jobs for my people, and you perceive that as being a bribe, so be it. I'm going to continue to fight for the forgotten people, and especially those forgotten people in the Fourth Ward. And I think this thing, Ms. Green has taken it a bit too far. She needs to back up, give me an apology, and let's move on, because this is about the people in this city. It is not about me, Ms. Green, or anyone else who think they're all that in a bag of chips. It's about the people that sent us down here to serve. I have to do my politics in a different manner because of the way of the problems and the disparity that we have in this community. I can't come down here, I dress like this because I'm a hood rat. I have to stay in the hood. I ride in a golf cart all day long, taking care of the people in the Fourth Ward, making sure that I see that same spot at least 8 times a day. People say, you're going to get killed in that cart. No, I'm not going to get killed. I can get killed in that car. I have 22 liquor stores, 41 stores that are capable of selling drugs, 150 churches, and they need to be on their job much more than what, because if I have 150 churches and I'm the biggest contributor of crime in the city, shame on you. Everyone needs to do their part, and I'm tired of being accused of taking a bribe, and whoever keeps accusing me, maybe you're taking a bribe. But I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I have so much to do in that ward. I inherited 1,800 buildings. I'm down to 12. So that means I've torn down almost 600 properties since I've been in office, chasing brick theft, me and Freeman Bosley, stealing our ward, taking our bricks down south. My politics is like no other. I work hard all day. I dream this night and day. I haven't been to sleep in 9 years. This is amazing that someone come in and accuse me of anything but doing the right thing for the people in the Fourth. I've been working very, very hard, and I continue to work hard to save the people in the Fourth. That's why if you can't stand me, don't worry about me. Worry about the people in the Fourth Ward, because I am sit here to represent them, those 200-300 people that voted for me. I'm here to represent them and those who don't have the will. You take our money and give us what? That's why apathy has set in, because the children see that we're not getting anything for our money. A polarized place, North and South St. Louis, with the Mason-Dixon line being Delmar. You can see the contrast. Stand on Taylor and Delmar and look north, and all you see is heat rising up off the street. When you turn and look back south, all you see is beautiful trees and things are being taken care of. We feel that. We are not third world citizens, and I say this and I say it all the time, that we live like the Jetsons compared to the Flintstones. Yabba dabba doo, but we're not having a gay old time. It is third world, unacceptable living in there, and I'm fighting, and perceive me as being anything you want to. But know that I'm fighting for the people, the forgotten people in the Fourth Ward, and that's what I'm sitting down there for, not to make friends. If you don't want to be my friends, boom, bye, ya. I almost said it, Marlene. I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
But it upsets me for this to continue, and we have a city that's failing, a whole city that's failing. We're talking about some coats and a lost stadium that we were never going to get, with some losers and a man that never wanted to be here. And I'm still adamant about downtown getting all the work. We look bad. Take a tour. This committee need to take a tour and ride the Fourth Ward. Let me show you how I live and where I live. It's horrible that we're here doing this to ourselves because we look crazy doing this. This is out of order.
I agree.
That's all I have to say.
Mr. Moore, would you please indulge
I
us?
have plenty more to say, but this is all I'm going to say today.
I'm sure you do. Would you indulge us just a few more minutes in case some of the committee members have a question of you? I only have 2, okay, very quickly.
Okay.
My first one is your understanding of negotiations, my understanding of negotiations. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page. Part of a legislative process is that when you are dealing with a particular issue, we negotiate.
Right.
So if it is something I don't like in a bill, I'll talk to you about it and try to change your mind. And we even do it as some people see, we even get to the floor and still haven't finalized it. We're
Right.
still debating on the floor to get it changed. That is called negotiations. Is that what you saw yourself doing when you were dealing with the Convention and Tourism bill?
Convention and tourism.
When we're talking about the stadium. It's,
Well, yeah.
It was at the
My
stadium as
thing
well.
is to get the best for
Yeah.
for the people, And we have bills that we fight about all day, every day for 9 years, and we don't make permanent enemies down there because everybody has to lose sometime.
Were you the only person who negotiated with the minority participation part of that bill?
I would hope not.
Okay, so negotiations were going on. And my last question here is, did you wear any of the coats that were contributed to you?
These were
Because
for the
bribery
children.
means that you benefit personally from what you took. So did you wear any of those coats?
I didn't wear any of the coats, and I don't have enough. And anybody want to donate some more coats, you are more than willing to do, because winter is not over and the children have nothing.
And I'm going to apologize too, because I normally donate for your award every year, and I didn't get around to it, and I will make up.
Thank you.
Are there any committee members that have any questions? I'll go down the line of seniority. Alderman Roddy. Alderman Bosley.
Who made these allegations?
Alderwoman Megan Green. Okay.
Oh, listen.
Yes, sir. Alderman Kennedy.
No question.
Alderman Conway. Okay, Alderman, could you make your way to a microphone, please?
You can have my chair.
Let's see, just two quick questions. I know I asked you at the last meeting if Alderwoman Green would make an apology to you, you would be comfortable walking away from this issue even though some of the allegations were against.
Well, she did it in a public forum. I've been questioned by my elders in the church, by my siblings, 17 siblings, and people throughout the community are pointing fingers at me about being a crook. I would accept an apology on the chamber floor. That's best I can do, but
Okay,
that,
and
that
the-
would do it.
Okay, and then the other question is, had she referred to you in any derogatory term?
Anybody, what now?
In a derogatory term, or someone had mentioned
It's
it?
derogatory to accuse me of taking a bribe, period. That's derogatory to me.
All right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Alderman Ortmann.
No questions at this time.
Alderwoman Behringer.
No questions.
Alderwoman Howard.
No questions.
Alderman Villa.
Alderman from the 4th, you look amazingly healthy for someone that hasn't slept in 9 years. I'd like to congratulate you.
And I've had 8 strokes and 6 seizures.
That's not good.
No.
And I'm also disappointed that in your pantheon of friends, a relative newcomer in Tim has replaced me, so I'll keep that in my memory bank. He's only been here a few months, for heaven's sake.
You're going to be all right.
I don't have any further questions, Madam Chairman, other than I for one, am extremely disappointed that the Alderwoman from the 15th has opted not to come this morning. I mean, that was a number of us suggested a week ago that we thought that was in our best interest to try to head some unsavory stuff off, and that's just an editorial comment. Thank you. I have no further comments.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Alderman Arnowitz.
No questions at this time.
President Reed.
I just want to thank you, Alderman, for continuing to stand. I know, that it's been difficult for you, especially in the circles that you're in, kind of bearing the brunt of some of these statements. And I certainly hope that, in the near term, we can get to the bottom of it and clear your name, as a pastor and someone working throughout the community. I know it's been tough. I know it's been tough on you. So, I thank you for continuing to be willing to work through it. And I also want to thank you for be willing to accept a public apology. I think that speaks volumes. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I know you've taken a little slack from it as well. So I appreciate you and anyone that's trying to stand on my behalf. Sometimes it might seem like I'm a little or not coherent, but it's because of the medication that I take in the first part of the morning. But if you catch me after 12 o'clock, no telling what I might say to you, because I have all my stamina back.
Yes, sir. Did you have any final words, sir?
The final word is that we need to get back to taking care of the people of this city. This city has a lot of problems. And this problem here is a minor problem that's went to major. And we're in a dilemma all over. Everything is coming down the pike for this city, and it all seems to be wrong. We are here as a collective body to take care of the city of St. Louis and get back to the business of taking care of the city and try to come together in a unit of have one St. Louis, not North St. Louis and not South St. Louis, but one St. Louis. But it's so polarized, the last slave holdout. All of these stigmas stick with the city of St. Louis. And again, I invite every member of the board here to come and take a tour. I'll pay for the bus and ride my ward, and I guarantee you all of you won't get to the end of the tour. You'll get off the bus and go home, because people shouldn't have to live that way. And it is horrible. And it's
Sam.
I don't know what brought that on.
I know, it's been hard. It's been hard. It's been hard on all of us. Alderman Moore, I wanted to share with you, as we will continue this hearing after you leave here, we're going to discuss all the things and all the materials and everything that we have. You know that you have been cleared by law enforcement. You have been cleared by our police department. You have been cleared by the FBI. One of the statements that they made was, this was some political nonsense, and actually some uneducated political nonsense. They are aware of how we negotiate when we're dealing with bills. They are aware of how we get contributions for our community, but it goes directly to those individuals that benefit from it. It's not anything that we haven't been doing throughout the history of this Board of Aldermen or any other legislative body. It is a shame that this was carried on after the clearance from the law enforcement. That's where the problems, I think, arose in this body. If you continue to refer to something as a problem and it has been investigated, then you must come with some very hard facts. And that has not been brought forth yet. And I don't think it ever will. And that is the problem that we have at this moment. So we have to make sure, as a Board of Aldermen, that we don't have anything out here messy. And most especially on the second go-round, it was indicated that every alderman here was unethical and was corrupt. So the public needs to make sure that this is cleared up. So if these statements continue, you have the right as a citizen to deal with it in a civil matter legally. And there are certain things that can be done here by this Board of Aldermen with our board president's leadership and direction. We as individual aldermen only have power to deal with it in a civil matter as well, if we feel as though we've been harmed. But I wanted you to have this opportunity, as well as I wanted Alderwoman Green to have an opportunity to clear everything up. Just state it. Give us some facts.
All right.
Because if there's some facts there, then law enforcement needs to be called back in and get it cleared up. That's why we're here today. So I thank you for coming before us, and we shall continue with this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, you have a number of materials, as I stated in the beginning of this session, before you. Most of them come from social media. I shared with you that I would not be reading them. One of the things that just came to my mind is that the most important document that you have before you, well, rather it's really two, the statements of law enforcement and the letter from our police commissioner. So I think it's important that the public needs to hear that letter. I think that's critical. So this letter was written December 14th. Now, be mindful, remember, there was a first accusation, there was an investigation, and then there was a second accusation that carried on for a number of weeks on social media, on the radio, on TV, in the newspaper. So December 14th, this letter was written to the President of the Board of Aldermen. It says, on Thursday, December 10th, at around 1:30 p.m., the department became aware of a series of social media posts by Alderwoman Megan Green, wherein she made accusations of bribery and corruption in the context of the upcoming vote for the financing of the city's new stadium. Immediately upon becoming aware of her social media post, I first determined that this department had not been contacted by Alderwoman Green regarding any of these accusations. I next contacted Special Agent in charge of the St. Louis Field Office of the FBI, Bill Woods, to determine if they had been aware by Alderwoman Green of these accusations, and they had not. I immediately instructed a detective from the department's FBI Public Corruption Task Force, along with an agent from the FBI, to contact Alderwoman Green as soon as possible to investigate these allegations. This is the first contact that I'm aware of between law enforcement and Alderwoman Green. After interviewing her and listening to her allegations, and based on the information she provided, the department determined that there was no substance to her allegations. Currently, there are no criminal investigations underway by either this department or the FBI that I am aware of. Certainly, any individuals with relevant information are encouraged to come forward, but based on the social media posts and the interviews with Alderwoman Green, there was no actionable information obtained. And he asked us to feel free to contact him if we had any other questions about this, and I'm sure that means the public as well. That, for me, was enough at that point. And then I came back from my Christmas break, and I'm hearing all of this all over again. As we went through the time periods of all of this, there were many, many, many people who were disturbed by this, who were insulted by this action, who had reason to believe that we could operate better as a body. As you continue what was listed in the St. Louis Business Journal, St. Louis Today, those statements that were printed, the statements of law enforcement, hopefully would have sent a message, but it didn't. So printed in the St. Louis Business Journal on December 11th, St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department spokeswoman Sharon Jackson said in an email, "Our officers, along with the FBI, interviewed Alderwoman Green relative to said allegations and determined that there was nothing actionable." Printed in St. Louis Today on December 11th. And this statement says, "In my 24 years' experience as a prosecutor in Jefferson City, when allegations go through the media, it tends to be more political than criminal." That statement was made by U.S. Attorney Richard Callahan, who is head of the FBI unit in this area. And then another statement in St. Louis Today on December 14th. After interviewing her and listening to her allegations based on the information she provided, the department determined that there was no substance to her allegations. Currently, there are no criminal investigations by either this department or the FBI that I am aware of. Statement made by Chief Dotson. So when we continued with all of the postings, all of the radio programs, and everything else, and I'm just going to give you the dates of some of this. I'm not going to read all of this. And we've pulled from as much as we could pull from. But when we continue with allegations, and remember, after December 14th, this was all cleared by law enforcement. And so we're still getting statements February 2nd, February 5th, January 7th, and a number of others, 2 on January 7th, 3 on January 7th, and all these were from different medias. So I don't know what else we can do to try to get to the bottom of this without the alderwoman and her specific facts and knowledge of the allegations. So therefore, it is usually assumed by anybody, including law enforcement, that there is nothing there and it needs to end. As we move forward here, I'd like to have our committee members give me their summations or discussion points before the chair gives a final on where we are and where we shall go. As I stated earlier, I had no intentions of calling for a vote for this resolution to go to the floor. I don't believe we need to be debating this again on the floor. I don't believe the public needs to have to go through this again. You see, you're hurting an entire city with this. This is not just a one-on-one. We have a lot of work to do. I need to be in there right now working on some other projects as well as others here. Unless this committee insists, I will not be taking a vote, and if we do take a vote, I will be voting no. So I'd like to go down the list again of committee members to determine where they are and if they have any final words that they would like to say before the chair does a summary. Alderman Roddy.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, thank you for the opportunity. I wasn't on either of the committees that dealt with the stadium prior to it coming before the full board. So I felt like
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I need you at the
Come on up.
microphone.
Take my spot, Joe.
full house today. Try to start over. I'm kind of rambling stream of thoughts here. I did not serve on either of the committees that took up the board bill or the vote on the stadium. It took up the stadium or the bill to put it up for a vote, so I wasn't on either of those committees.
You're not
Took it up
talking
prior to coming to the full board. So I felt like I was not particularly informed on some of the events that were occurring at the committees. I guess I was a little distressed when I saw some of this on social media, and when I initially read or heard it on social media, my initial reaction was is that somebody probably got frustrated with how a vote turned out, and we've all had moments where we probably said something that we probably felt was perhaps inaccurate, and I thought that, you know, it would be kind of a passing type of thing, and I guess some people called the alderwoman out on tweet, and actually one of our members suggested that she go to the FBI, and I kind of was somewhat shocked when I read a press release after that kind of doubled down on the whole thing, and up to that point I wasn't particularly offended. I thought it was a remark that was probably out of inappropriate, or but not necessarily, you know, something to get too excited about. But when I read this press release, Alderwoman Megan Green pulled the curtain back on the corruption in St. Louis political culture that enabled, and it goes on from there. And at one point in here, it says, some of Alderwoman Green's colleagues took to social media to blast her for speaking out against the blatant and unchecked bribery and corruption in City Hall. And I know there's some people here today that are friends of our colleague from the 15th Ward, and you probably know her from an environment that you're friends. But there's 28 members of the board beyond her that are down here. Each of us have been elected by the majority of people that are in our ward. And many of them are down here for all the right reasons. And we all come down here with a whole bunch of different backgrounds. We have retired teachers. We have social activists. We have civil rights employees. We have a couple people that are like me in the finance business. We have lawyers. But most of them aren't down here trying to go ahead, and this isn't some sort of get-rich thing. Most of them are down here because they like their neighborhoods, and they want to make them better. And we're faced with situations where none of us necessarily know what's right about a stadium. I mean, we take a look at it. We come down here with different perspectives. We, you know, have it out on the floor of the board. Hopefully, if you don't take it a little personal and get a little excited about it, you're probably shouldn't be down here in the first place. But at some point, you walk off the floor of the board, and you hope a few weeks later that you can at least kind of get over whatever was said out there. But social media is just turned everybody into their own PR person, and people are jumping on this, and they're typing things that, you know, they really shouldn't be typing, and then things that, you know, we would never say out loud get said, and it's just, you know, it's creating a poisonous environment down here, and we have to kind of come down here and maybe argue a little bit, but at some point we're supposed to work together. And it's really hard to create an environment like that when people are accusing other people of crimes. And it's just, you know, that stuff is really, really serious. I have been down here I'm the longest member of the board, for those who aren't familiar with it. And when I came down shortly after the alderman from the 7th got in serious trouble. And since I've been down here, there's been a number of people in City Hall who have gone to jail. It's not something that you take lightly. I mean, we've had a comptroller go to jail. We've had our circuit attorney go to jail over prostitution. We've had our most recent member of the board was just a couple years ago, got in all kinds of trouble over, you know, financial disclosure. You know, I guess they were taking campaign money and stuff. I mean, this is serious stuff. These are people that we know and that we may like or not like, but they go to jail. And to stand up and say that about somebody is just, you know, I mean, it's just beyond the pale. How can you do that and then expect people to work with you the next day? And
Alderman Roddy, could you wrap up, please?
I just, you know, I am very disappointed because I really came down here suspicious but open-minded. I mean, if there was something that was said inappropriately, you know, but anyway, I am, I don't know what to say. I think that at some point we have to restore some sort of element of common decency and courtesy in how we handle these things. And if we let comments like this go, you know, unchallenged, I think it's setting a bad precedent for us.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Alderman Bosley, do you have any final comments? No? All right. Alderman Kennedy? Okay. Alderman Conway? Okay.
Madam Chairman, who put this little comment list together?
That was pulled by the research analyst, and I'm trying to think of the child's name. Where is he? I don't even see him. Yes, Mr. Powers.
Okay. And I guess, and I'm looking at them, and, you know, most of these, but that number 18, the last one, I think that might have been more indicative of how emotionally involved the alderwomen from the 15th Ward, when you say things like that, that's a little bit of a problem. But I think she was so emotionally involved and over the top, she couldn't accept, you know, whatever vote got this all going, with respect to her and her supporters. And I guess, you know, of that ilk, you know, people seem to be comfortable with these statements that she's making.
Can you read the statement that you're referring to, please? Or would you like for me to read it?
Could you read that, please?
I'll read it because some people may not know what you're talking about. This was on CBS Radio on the show We Are Live on January 7th. What I said in that tweet is something that a lot of folks say behind closed doors, but don't have the guts to actually put it out there and call a spade a spade.
And I don't believe that necessarily that's always indicative of who that person is. And, you know, I think to a certain degree, I would have a tendency to agree with you. People understand that she has made a lot of statements, and not just on this issue.
That's not all of them.
That are over the top. And I was hoping that she would come and apologize to Alderman Moore. She's made that decision not to. And I just say, let's go move forward. She'll have to deal with, and on behalf of her ward, she's going to have to deal with all of us to get things done for her ward, or things that she believes is important, because that's just not how you get things done. You can't go and be like General Sherman and burn everything and expect people to negotiate with you at a later date.
Well, that is very true, sir, and I thank you for your comments. I think one of the main things in this process, if you're going to be in a political position and you make statements, you have to be strong enough to stand to the public and to your peers and deal with it. So I'm just really wishing that Alderwoman Green had been here so she could be heard. I think that's critical. She should have been heard so that we could have some absolutes taken care of today. And so I really wish she had been present. Now it's Alderman Ortmann. Any final statements?
I kind of ditto the statement that you just made. I kind of wish she would have come,
Yeah.
you know, just to put her cards on the table,
Right.
you know, so we could get this way behind us.
Right,
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you so much. Alderwoman Behringer? She's still here?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry,
Okay.
I moved over. I just want to make sure that the public, this exhibit, I apologize, Exhibit A of the statements that were compiled, I'm just curious, is everyone going to be able to see this?
We have some extra copies here for anybody who would like to have them, and definitely. And I believe, because like I said, I don't do this social media stuff, but I think you can go pull up radio programs or something and listen to them or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we could probably post what we had in this hearing online as well, so that anyone who wasn't able to be here could see exactly what we were dealing with in committee. I think that's fair to the public as well. Okay?
And I just, want to add on what Alderman Roddy had said, is that many of us have been down here. We have very diverse backgrounds. And I've worked very hard. I'm not from a political family, and I'm here because I worked in the neighborhoods and I was trying to make a difference in the city of St. Louis. And I think we all have the best interest of the city at heart, and I'm sorry we're here right now. And I hope that everyone knows that this is making it difficult for us to move forward. And I have always been to the adage of, I have no permanent friends, I have no permanent enemies, I have permanent issues. So that's what's important to me. And I was the person who worked for the personal financial disclosure, which now requires everyone in the city of St. Louis that's elected to fill it out. So I have always been about transparency of government. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Howard.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate your running this meeting, and I think that at this point, we need to move on with city business. Having the availability of social media has made being in politics very easy in some ways, but very, very, we need to be very measured in what we put out there. I think sometimes it's easy to say things behind a phone or a computer that we may not stand up and say in public. I think that as we move forward and we look at one another, we need to deal with each other in respect and realize that we're diverse, we all have different values, we all have different people we represent, and we need to deal with what we have in our basket and to treat each other with respect. Assume transparency, don't assume the wrong. When we look for evil, we find it, and I don't think that we need to look at people as being on the take, so to speak. Most people, as Alderman Moore said, are here for the betterment of their community. We all have different people to represent, and as we do that, there may be some missteps, but most of the time those are not intended. People do the best with what they have to operate with. Many of us have a very good active ward. Some of us don't have too many people active in our ward. So I think moving forward, if Alderwoman from the 15th Ward would take into consideration that we're all down here to operate for the common good, not for anybody's individual vanity. We don't need to step on somebody else to make ourselves look better. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Villa.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not sure what my homework assignment was in this particular recognition, but just a couple of brief things. You know, freedom of speech cuts both ways, and this is just an observation of someone that's been in this business for quite some time. You know, these are younger, probably brighter, more energetic members that come down to the Board of Aldermen, and quite frankly, it's not that they don't understand it and the way that things operate, it's just that they have a different perspective, and you know, I at my age, I have to find that healthy. I mean, you know, there's you know, in my day, if you failed to yield to interrogation, you dug yourself an extremely serious grave. And for the rest of your, I don't know about legislative career, but you just, you answered questions because that was the proper thing to do. And if you don't, if you were to interrogate the alderman from the 11th on a piece of legislation and he didn't know the answers, he'd just make them up. But I would not fail to yield to you. That is your prerogative as an elected member of the board. And as I read through all of today's material, and thank you for that, Madam Chairman, you know, I don't think any, you know, we certainly have the right to change our votes. In this particular instance, there was a change of a vote on whether or not the public should speak to the stadium issue, and then the other one was whether or not building the stadium was a good idea. And that certainly, I think from the inception of day one, probably not very many of us changed our minds on either one of those. We, 7 or 8 of us asked for a public vote in the form of a letter, I think headed by the alderman that rides a bicycle. And I don't think many of us changed our mind on that particular issue. So, you know, it's a new breed. As I read through resolution number 197 again, I don't know what it is that we as a committee can find pursuant to an investigation, particularly if the alderwoman from the 15th is not willing to cooperate. I mean, can we subpoena her? I assume we can. I mean, I think that would bring a pall over the Board of Aldermen that, quite frankly, just isn't necessary. There's a simple way out of this, and obviously she has opted not to do that, and that too is her prerogative. But I just, again, I think that if she had been willing to come down and just answer a couple of questions, hopefully we could have made this whole exercise in the macabre go away, but it didn't work out that way. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Arnowitz.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I guess I basically echo the sentiments from the alderman from the 11th, who really taught me politically, so I try to listen to him. And I think Mr. Villa's right. You know, you have younger people running for offices that has a different perspective and ideas and thoughts, and I think all of us at one time or another has said things in frustration that we really didn't mean to say. I think that's part of it. But, you know, to me personally, I think when you make an accusation, I think, you know, if you're woman or man enough to admit it and say you was wrong out of frustration, you know, I have no problem with it. You know, because I sure don't want people thinking that we're all crooks, which is far from the truth. Social media loves to play it up because they need more people watching TV. And the sad part is a lot of people follow social media and believe 99.9% of what they say. And we all know it isn't true. You know, I come down here and ran for alderman because I worked for the city 35 years, and I know things that's done. City employees, you know, they struggle from paycheck to paycheck. I'm sure I voted on things that's popular and unpopular. The only thing I learn a lot down here, and I'll be quiet after this, is, you know, I try to make the right decisions. I ended up voting present at the vote on the stadium because, you know, one day we got 100 million, 2 days later we don't have 100 million. You know, who's on first and what's on second? I mean, I felt like I was in a chess game and I was the pawn. So I wasn't going to commit either way. So if it would have passed and they stayed, so be it. As you see what happened, I think St. Louis was duped from the very beginning. This move was in the make for the last 5 years. You know, with that being said, I think we need to move forward. But I think a lot of followers of Megan Green, which is great, you know, don't judge all of us on something that was said, maybe intentionally or not intentionally. I think just be fair with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. President Reed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I'm sitting here torn by thinking whether I should speak to this or not. This has been a long, trying affair, especially for Alderman Moore, who had been under repeated attacks, even as you pointed out, even after the chief issued his letter, the feds came back and said there were no actionable items. And for a program that he's run for 9 years, where he's gotten coats to give to kids that some of the kids didn't even have a coat. They have to wear a sweatshirt or double up on T-shirts and stuff to get back and forth to school. And he has spent 9 years working this program and has asked everybody within earshot, please donate to this coat drive to give these kids an opportunity for a coat. And a program like that was taken and soiled, and it was sad to see. And, you know, I think some of the people had an opportunity to see today how much it has hurt him. My hope was that the Alderwoman Green, who I encouraged to run and supported her in her campaign and everything, and still hope to see her do better in the future. My hope was that she would have shown up here today and at least help put this to bed. It is, you know, it is just not fair to have Alderman Moore continue to carry that around with him, and for Alderwoman Green to stand on that mantle, like that righteous mantle. I just don't think that's fair. This man has worked for years within his community to try to make a difference. And now he's having to slow up and try to turn around to fix this issue. I encourage Alderwoman Green to, even at Friday's meeting, to stand up and make a complete apology to Alderman Moore. I think that's critical, and I think it's important. And part of what was done in that subcommittee, and Alderman Moore talked about it, we sit here and we talk about public safety, we talk about crime, we say, oh, families need to do better, you know, these kids just need to do better, why don't they just put down the pistol and all this stuff, right? Nancy Reagan coined the phrase, just say no. But just say no never worked because you didn't give the kids anything to say yes to. So part of what was being done in that committee was looking at the fact that we had just buried over 180 some odd people, most of them young African-American males who, by all accounts, have no real true opportunities. I mean, they're stuck in a place where to get the job skills, that's not available for them. And then once they get the job skills, going in and getting a job that would take them out of that life of crime isn't there either. We shouldn't expect that to change by magic because it will never change by magic. We've been down that road multiple times. So when Alderman Moore, Alderman French, and others came together to change that dynamic and to put together a never seen before minority and women-owned business inclusion plan that had some teeth in it, that had penalties in it on the back end to really truly change the lives of these kids. It was just so disheartening to see what happened in the aftermath of that. The hope is for me, and I know others have expressed this also, that we still have an opportunity to salvage some of that. And if people want to come out and say Black Lives Matter, then it should matter enough to cast a vote to make a difference in the lives of these kids. If crime matters, it should matter enough to go out and work to try to make a difference in the lives of these kids. Now that message wasn't delivered clearly through the process. But that's what was behind it. I think you saw a little of that in Alderman Moore today. And that's what Alderman Moore said to me and said to others, and said to everybody that would listen, including Dave Peacock and all of them during the process. He said, if I can't do something for the people that I represent, I don't care about football. It could be It could be an aquarium, it could be a football stadium, whatever it is, it's gonna have to work for the taxpayers of the city of St. Louis. And it's gonna have to work for the people that are out here hurting. We continue to say, oh, just do better. Give me something to do better with. Give me an opportunity at a career. And that's what this is all about, and that's how we end up here today. I still hold out hope that we can get to the bottom of this. I think is very important. I think Alderwoman Green has a lot to offer, but the tactics that have been used are plain and simply just wrong. To say that someone had engaged in a criminal act, a felony, when you know it not to be true, just isn't right.
Thank you, President Reed. I believe that unless any other committee members have a dire need to say something else, I would like to summarize and talk about the next steps as well. So in summary, this hearing was scheduled in order to have firsthand information from Alderwoman Megan Green and Alderman Samuel Moore. Alderwoman Green made a decision not to appear. We were provided with some additional information that some of us had not seen that have been spoken through social media and or other forms of print or whatever. Most of that material has comments in it, but it has no facts. Facts is what the law deals with. Until there are some facts, there should not be an issue for anybody. And the matter should be dropped. One of the things that you cannot do is you cannot force someone to be fair or right. That is not a possibility with humans. You can train a dog, you can train a cat, you can train a bird, but it is impossible with humans. One of the things that I'd like to also add in all of this is, as we move forward, the stadium vote was the beginning of this. I think the misfortune was that some people saw it as an opportunity to deal with social justice matters. But what most people don't understand who choose to go into politics, social justice does not belong in a legislative body. And I'll tell you why. And you can disagree with me all day, every day, but I've lived it and I understand it. I have volunteered all my life, okay? And the most success I have ever had is when I was on the outside, shouting and screaming, walking, getting petitions signed, all of that. That is social justice. It comes from the ground. It comes from the people. The people force right, not inside a legislative body. Until the people do the work on the outside and forces the inside to look at it and make changes on behalf of people, that's the only way it's going to work. And if you read your history and you learn about all those things that have occurred through the years, Martin Luther King was not a politician, and the politicians didn't care how much he walked until enough people on the ground from all races, from across this country and world, said you need to do something about this or you won't get reelected. That's how those things occur. It has happened throughout history. Lyndon Johnson didn't want to do anything about workforce development and all those things that Urban League was trying to do until Whitney Young went in there and sat down with the forces of the people behind him. Lyndon said, well, I want to stick around for a while. I need to go talk to some people. I need to make some things happen. That's where it comes from. It comes from the people. And that's why I'm always out there with the people. I listen to young people. I mentor young people because you are our future. And I want you to take darn good care of me, okay? Please, because I believe that you're going to do it better than we did it, okay? So sometimes things get confused, and I think that's what happened with this issue. We were trying to force something through a legislative process where it did not belong. And that's really unfortunate, because I was on the Convention and Tourism Committee, and I saw what was trying to occur, but that's not how you do it. My vote was only there because I was hoping that if we did, not because I cared about Cronkite, and I made that very clear in debating, if we did have the opportunity to have a stadium, that people would get jobs. If we did, that some other things would happen in the right way. That's why I voted for it. And my final statement on the floor when we were debating is, all of you all better understand, this man has all the money in the world. He don't care about us. He hasn't spoken to us, and he's going to have it his way. And that was the end results. And it wasn't about the money with him, because now he's paying 3 or 4 times more money in L.A. than we were asking for. He just wanted to do it his way. And again, what I just said earlier about human beings, we couldn't force him to stay here. There was nothing that would happen other than us to try, and we tried, and we lost. End of story. With this Resolution 197, I'm still in the position, after listening to everybody, that I'm not going to ask for a vote for it to go back to the floor to continue this when we have no substance. We have none at all. And I think these committee members have made it very clear what they believe should happen in the near future. But one of the things that I have here before me is that as I listened, I had to not forget that it wasn't just Alderman Moore. It was the entire Board of Aldermen that had been insulted. It was the entire Board of Aldermen that was a target. And so I think there needs to be a conclusion to this. And I think that I believe the only place we have any power for any kind of remedy to this, for people to feel comfortable, is I am going to ask this committee if somebody would make a nomination, give me a consideration for a vote, that this shall end, and this shall end with the president of the Board of Aldermen using those powers that he has by our rules to do any kind of reprimand that is necessary based on what we have heard and what we know at this point. Is anybody willing to recommend that?
Madam Chairman, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I mean, I just gotta be honest here, and this is just me.
Go right ahead, sir.
I honestly believe at this point, I think it's mute. What do we gain from this point on by pushing this? Then the next thing it's going to be the president coming to a hearing, and then the next person and this person.
No more hearings. That needs to end.
I make a motion at this time that
Just leave it
we
where it is.
just leave it where
whatever
it is,
rules-
drop it, and it's over with, and hopefully we can all move on and work a little more closer together.
I need to, go right ahead, sir.
Madam Chairman, if I will, I think that you've already decided to not take it for a vote. I think we're done past that. But if you wanted to do, another motion, we could, but I think based on the fact that we're not taking it for a vote, I think we're done.
I think that you are absolutely right. And what I was saying is that I wanted to have a motion to end Resolution 197. That's my motion. I'm asking for that motion to end Resolution 197. But if you don't need to, we just won't vote, and I'll end the meeting.
No.
I want it clear. That's all I want.
I'll make that motion.
I just want it clear.
Yeah.
Okay. We do not,
Madam Chairman, I make the motion, oh, I'm sorry.
But I think we have to be careful because it may result in the opposite of what you were saying earlier. To pass it out with a do not pass recommendation is different than what you asked about earlier was me taking action based on which would be based on a report from the committee, right? So I think you have to kind of think about the way to weigh that. I don't know. What do you-
well, here's where I understand what you're saying, I understand what the Alderman Arnowitz is saying, but if you, Alderman Villa, you need to speak, I'm sorry.
I certainly wasn't going to interrupt you, Madam Chairman.
Go right ahead.
There's absolutely no reason, I don't think, that we need to take any further action on resolution number 197, simply because I think we made two attempts to get more information.
Yes, we
Those
did.
attempts, because of the lack of cooperation of the Alderwoman from the 15th, we're at a standoff here.
Yes.
And as a result of that, this resolution number 197, along with a lot of other, certainly some legislation, will die when we adjourn sine die in the next month or so. And again, let's not kid ourselves, and she is not here, but the Alderwoman from the 15th has certainly, in the eyes of most of us, by now all of a sudden not talking to us, has done some harm to herself. Is that irreparable harm? I think we all deal with that in a different way.
Right.
But, yeah, she has not done herself any favors. This whole chapter is not one that we want to shine a whole lot of light on because it's unsavory.
I agree.
And these allegations were, in fact, to parrot the sentiments of President Reed, were extremely serious. I think to a man and woman, most of us realize that this does not go on here. But she certainly does not remain unscathed just because we don't take some more action from here. And again, whether we like it or not, to proceed beyond today would unless I'm wrong, we would almost have to subpoena her to appear. And if we subpoena her to appear, she's going to bring legal counsel unless the Alderwoman from the first takes a long vacation. So I think, I don't think you need to take any further action. There are other things we could do, but what if the Alderwoman from the 15th finds, it's not fiscal Jesus, maybe she may have a vision and all of a sudden want to come and tell us everything that she thought may or may not have occurred.
Okay.
Then we have the opportunity to revisit this.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Thank you,
I'm
Madam Chairman.
fine with that. I am absolutely fine with that. It is always, anytime I chair a committee, it's the will of the committee. So I hear the will of the committee. So I would like to say thank you for all that did appear. I appreciate the media being here, and I hope you have a clearer understanding of this situation. And I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.